Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4.
It's Friday.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Today, I agree.
It's a big weekend ahead, too.
Yeah, especially tonight. We have the Brewers going for Game 6.
Right. It's debate night in Wisconsin. The gubernatorial debate is coming up later tonight.
And Michael Bruno is here, and Lola's here, so
big show.
Lots going on. First at 4, Paul Soglin says, never mind. He wants to remain mayor after all, as he announces a re-election campaign.
The eyes in Washington are focused on a caravan of migrants heading to the U.S.-Mexico border. The White House is trying to stop that from happening. And
the story of a Michigan teenager and his heartwarming act of kindness. Wait till you hear this one.
Talk about do something good.
Yeah,
this is
really
a good one. Let's take a look outside today. It's a windy Friday afternoon. I love this shot. Welcome home, Badgers.
That's
it's
right.
homecoming this weekend.
And the parade is about to go down State Street about 6 o'clock this evening. A chilly weekend, though. Let's head outside. Dave Caulfield, whose first words going out the door was, holy moly.
Yeah, it is definitely breezy outside, but it's definitely not an easy day or a beautiful day, so this is not a cover girl forecast by any means. But we do start to see the cover come off on the clouds across the area. We're starting to see those clouds clear out just a little bit. By the time we get to later this evening, clear skies will be with us. The clouds will be back first thing tomorrow. Doppler track showing the rain moving out, and it's being pushed out by this very, very gusty wind. Downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam still showing those cloudy skies. Right now at 53 degrees, west-southwest wind at 10 miles per hour sustained, but gusting in the 20s at times. Temperatures are still in the 50s across the board for southern Wisconsin. Dew points in the upper 40s and 50s, so not as dry outside, but the wind is drying everything out. It will definitely get that task done at about 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting closer to 30 miles per hour in some spots. Here is your forecast planner for tonight, a haunted house forecast. Is it going to be that spooky? Not really. With temperatures staying in the 50s and that breeze staying with us, how is our traffic looking? Is that spooky? Not too much on Park Street and the Beltline. Traffic is generally moving pretty smoothly in both directions, but again, it's a Friday on the Beltline, so expect some delays. No major accidents or incidents to report across Dane County. Zooming in, we could see some slow go on the Beltline and heading closer to East Wash and West Wash, but we are looking at the Beltline, some brake lights showing up closer to Seminole Highway, Fish Hatchery Road. Right now, not looking too bad closer to Stoughton Road and the interstate. Here are your drive times. Verona Road to John Nolan, 10 minutes right now, eastbound, average speed of around 25 miles per hour. Keep in mind, when you're driving, you're going to encounter some crosswinds in spots, so that car may be blowing around a little bit on the ride home this evening, and that is your first alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you.
First at 4, Madison Mayor Paul Soglin says he is ready for another term as mayor.
Soglin threw his hat in the already packed race this morning. Our Keely Arthur takes a closer look at his and his opponent's campaigns. Keely?
Well, you'll remember in July, he said that he was not going to run for re-election. At the time, he was running a now failed campaign for Wisconsin governor. But since then, things have changed. Soglin made the announcement early this morning in a news release and video. He touted his achievements since returning to office in 2011, including making sure all city employees made a minimum of $15 and building 1,000 units of affordable housing. Here is more from the video.
20,000 jobs have been created in Madison since the end of 2010. We've launched Starting Block, and the public market is underway. We made sure this prosperity benefits as many people as possible.
He also talked about his plans for next term, which includes combating ice and flood prevention. The primary for the mayor's race is February 19th. The general election is April 2nd, and we have a full list of the candidates on our website, channel3000.com. We will hear from the majority of them coming up on News 3 at 5, and most of them saying it's time for a change.
Well, a lot of people got into the race when he announced that he wasn't going to run again.
I know, it kind of opened the floodgates, and now everybody's thinking, uh-oh.
Here we go again.
Here we go again, exactly.
We'll see you at 5. Thanks, Keely.
Thanks.
Some new clues are emerging from a 911 call in the case of 13-year-old Jamie Kloss, who remains missing. The Barron County Sheriff's Department released dispatch logs that reveal a 911 call appears to have come from Jamie's mother's cell phone and that the door to the family's home had been kicked in. Authorities have been searching for Jamie since Monday when a mysterious 911 call led deputies to discover that her parents had been shot dead at the family's home in Barron County. A Walworth County Sheriff's deputy shot and killed a suspect overnight. Authorities say deputies tried to pull over the suspect after he was seen driving recklessly in Elkhorn. After a pursuit, the suspect stopped his car and the deputy got out of his squad car. The sheriff's office says the suspect then drove toward the deputy, who fired his weapon, killing the man.
A caravan of thousands of Central American migrants is now at the Mexico-Guatemala border and inching closer to the United States. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is trying to hammer out a deal with Mexican officials to keep that from happening. Nicole Killian has the latest from the White House.
Secretary of State Pompeo met with officials in Mexico City Friday, trying to stop the caravan of about 3,000 migrants from entering the U.S.
We are quickly reaching a point which appears to be a moment of crisis.
The group of mostly Honduran men, women, and children sang songs and held signs as they reached the border of Guatemala and Mexico en route to the U.S. At a rally in Montana last night, President Trump threatened to deploy military troops to stop them.
I'm willing to send the military to defend our southern border if necessary.
With midterm elections just 2.5 weeks away, the president is using the caravan to push for tougher restrictions on immigration. Mr. Trump blamed the Democrats for backing the influx of migrants.
They wanted that caravan, and there are those that say that caravan didn't just happen.
Today, Secretary Pompeo pressed for immigration reform.
We've got to fix U.S. laws in order to handle this properly as well. That is an American burden, a uniquely American burden.
President Trump holds a campaign-style rally in Arizona tonight where he's likely to address the immigration crisis. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
And U.S. Border Patrol officials say there's been an increase in large groups attempting to cross into the United States together.
On October 2nd, Border Patrol agents encountered a group of 164 adults and children near the border. And on September 25th, a group of 254 migrants. The candidates for governor are battling it out tonight in the first of two debates before the November election.
Governor Scott Walker and State Superintendent Tony Evers are locked in a tight race, with the most recent Marquette Law School poll showing Walker 1 point ahead. Rose Schmidt is here to tell us what key issues we can expect to hear about tonight. Rose.
Well, Mark and Susan, we can expect to hear the candidates duke it out over education and health care. Those are two of the top issues that have emerged in this race. Governor Walker has called himself the education governor, a term Tony Evers disputes in recent political ads. Both candidates are pledging to fund schools 2/3 of their total costs. And Walker is a longtime opponent of the Federal Affordable Care Act, while Evers says he supports it. Evers has questioned Walker about how he would guarantee protections for people with pre-existing conditions if reelected. But Walker has said if something were to change, he would pass legislation in a heartbeat to make sure people with pre-existing medical conditions are protected. We may also hear about allegations Walker made today that Evers plagiarized material in the state budget requests submitted by the Department of Public Instruction. That's the organization that Evers runs. Evers said in a statement that the document should have used proper citations and changes in protocol will be made going forward.
All right, Rose Schmidt, thank you. And you can watch that debate at 8 o'clock right here on WISC-TV. Our political reporter, Jessica Arp, will be part of the panel in the debate, sponsored by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association.
A teenager in Michigan is being hailed for an incredible act of kindness. 18-year-old Dalton Spencer heard that a cancer patient and his wife had requested pizza from the shop where he worked. But it was no trip around the block. Steve's Pizza is in Battle Creek, Michigan. Rich and Julie Morgan were at a hospice facility in Indianapolis, 225 miles away. Schaefer found out what kind of pizza they wanted, and after he closed the shop for the night, he hit the road. 3.5 hours later, he showed up and delivered 2 pizzas at 2:30 in the morning.
Family came up, gave me a hug, everything like that, and it was cool. You know, their expressions on their face and everything like that, it was really cool. They said that it meant the world to them. They were just really shocked that somebody would do that and extremely happy.
Julie Morgan posted a photo of the pizza on Facebook and wrote, "I am beyond overwhelmed and humbled by this act of genuine kindness. Dalton brought our family so much joy and the best pizza in the world at a really difficult time." After returning to Michigan, Schaefer says he's gotten a lot of phone calls from people who are inspired by what he did to do something good.
Good for him.
Yes.
The couple is from that area, and they remember that pizza as the best pizza they ever had.
I love that.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Good for him.
Yep. Well, still to come at 4, it's the tale of the hapless florist who raises a plant that lives on human flesh.
That can only be Michael Bruno in The Little Shop of Horrors. The off-Broadway musical is being performed in Verona this weekend. Michael heads backstage to check it out when Live at 4 continues.
Well, people across the country are daring to dream.
Fun to think about, isn't it? Hoping to become a billionaire. Yes, you heard that right. The Mega Millions jackpot tonight is the second biggest in U.S. history, behind a $1.6 billion Powerball drawing in 2016. The drawing is tonight at 10 o'clock, and we will have the numbers for you tonight on News 3 at 10.
Unless we win, then you'll just see a blank screen. Stocks finished the week mixed in a choppy session. The Dow Industrials managed a 64-point gain, closing at 25,444. The NASDAQ Composite Index lost 36. The S&P 500 fell a point. Well, first, it was a low-budget 1960 black comedy film. In 1982, it was an off-Broadway horror comedy rock musical that turned into a 1986 hit film, Little Shop of Horrors.
The musical version hits the stage this weekend, courtesy of Verona Area Community Theater. Michael Bruno goes backstage to confront the plant that feeds on human flesh.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long.
Downtown, where the hopheads slop in the snow. Down on Skid Row.
The story takes place in a little flower shop on Skid Row. And basically, one of the characters, Seymour, discovers this unusual plant, and it changes the plot of things.
Downtown, where they rip your slips. Downtown, where relationships and go.
The show is about a Venus flytrap that develops a taste for human blood.
All my life I've always been poor. I keep asking God what I'm for. And he tells me, gee, I'm not sure. Sweep that floor, kiddo. I started life as an orphan, a child of the street, here on Skid Row. He took me in, gave me shelter, a bed, crust of bread, and a job. Treats me like dirt, calls me a slob, which I am. So I live.
How does he get involved with your character?
Well, we are co-workers at the flower shop. We're good friends. And throughout the show, he helps me come to realize that I have value, that I'm more than I think that I am.
Someone show me a way to get out of here.
And you're putting your own little spin on this production, right?
We are, so there's no blonde Bob. You know, it's hard to put your own kind of change into shows like this that are done a ton, that everybody has an idea of what it's supposed to look like. So I knew when we first started talking it, one of the main things I didn't want to do is have a blonde bob hair on Audrey. I didn't really want to have a 60s aesthetic. So what we've gone for is a more of an 80s theme, because to me, thematically, the show is a lot about greed and capitalism, kind of like the pursuit of success and sacrifice of all other things, right? That's the big kind of underlying tone of the whole show, and no other decade to me really identifies with that as much as the 80s do, so.
And now, would you say that this is a good show for the Halloween season?
Oh, absolutely. It's not, well, I wouldn't say it's a scary or bloody show by any means. It's very campy, over the top, but it's very much kind of a sci-fi kind of show where it's just about a silly kind of plant that comes to life. So it's very appropriate for the Halloween season.
I gotta get out of Skid Row. But I wouldn't get too close.
Little Shop of Horrors. Everybody's done this, as they say, but you got to put your own spin on it.
It's true. Everybody eventually, at one time or another, will do Little Shop of Horrors. It's just a really fun show. The music's really fun. It's a cute show that the whole family will enjoy it.
And Verona Area Community Theater draws from the high schools, from everybody in the
That's
community.
correct. The whole community theater. They have high school kids, they have adults, they have young kids, so they really do draw from a big talent pool.
Good singing.
Yeah, great singing, great stuff, great plants, great acting.
Little Shop of Horrors, as we say, the Verona High School Performing Arts Center, that's where they put on these shows.
That's correct.
It's Friday through Sunday. Go to vact.org/tickets. And next week,
it's Legally Blonde. It's stunning, you know. Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God.
That'll be a good one.
And you're
For
all
you, Susan, Legally Blonde, Mark, Legally Blonde.
And you're all dolled up?
Yes, I am all dolled up, yes. Going to MC the outreach banquet tonight.
That's why you're on a little early this week.
Yes.
That's right. Well, enjoy that. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Michael.
Still to come at 4, the first Halloween movie hits theaters 40 years ago.
And now a sequel of sorts is back on the big screen. We'll preview Halloween coming up after Dave's First Alert forecast.
Take a look at this. It's a giant pumpkin grinning up from Wilmington, California. Smiling Jack. The enormous jack-o'-lantern stands tall at the Phillips 66 oil refinery, greeting residents every October. Jack is actually a decorated 80,000-barrel storage tank. He's been a tradition at the refinery since 1952.
Oh, I love that.
I love this story.
Yeah,
really
that's
cute.
great.
Smiling Jack.
And it is Friday, October 19th. It is New Friends Day.
And you're going to have a new friend in May.
I am, yeah. My first kid is due in early May 5th. My wife.
Congratulations.
Yeah, my wife's doing well right now. So, yeah,
How
fingers
exciting.
crossed.
Baby Cupcake Caulfield. Oh, it's so
We
exciting.
haven't decided a name yet, but that's high on the list for
yes.
sure.
It is also Rainforest Day.
And it is Dress Like a Dork Day. Plaid polyester, everybody on the crew just looked
Just
at themselves.
reflexively.
Polyester pants, fanny packs, and worst of all, wearing sandals with socks.
I think my dad has everyone beat. He wears socks with water shoes, which I think is the only time in recorded history that's ever happened.
Yeah, you wouldn't want socks on if you're in the water with your water shoes.
I won't do that with my kid, but I love my dad to death.
All right, no
excited for
no
you.
dorky forecast. Well,
No.
it is kind of.
It's a little bit dorky outside. I mean, with the wind kind of blowing everything around, Mother Nature not really sure what to do with the clouds. But we will have some answers coming up over the next couple of days. Chilly weekend ahead in your First Alert forecast in just a few minutes. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a fabulous Friday so far. Check out this fabulous shot of the sunrise this morning over Monona Bay. Kenton Fowler sends us this, and it is just fantastic. Thanks so much. And we You know we always love all your weather photos, right? Now, our 3 things that we're focused on for this weekend, it's still going to be a windy weekend, at least at the start. We'll have your homecoming forecast, and that sunshine, it will return eventually, just not really over the next couple of hours or so. Obviously, we're getting dark soon. That also helps, but tomorrow the clouds will be back with us. High temperatures today, even with the clouds and rain around, made it into the mid-50s, and even though we were still a little bit below average in our high temperature department, that doesn't mean that we were below average in total today. Because our lows started off so high in the 40s, this is the first time in the last 8 days that Madison sees a temperature that is in total, when you factor in the high and the low, above average. So is that the start of a trend? Well, not really. It's going to be a bit of a chilly weekend. Temperatures right now are in the mid-50s for many of us. Also some 60s closer to Boscobel and Prairie du Chien. That's about 5 to 10 degrees cooler compared to this time yesterday. Speaking of warmer versus cooler, we just got the new El Nino update for this winter, and we do expect an El Nino to develop. Usually, the normal setup is with the trade winds blowing that warmer air closer to Australia, and that keeps the unsettled weather over there. But when we get an El Nino, that calms down. That allows that warmer air to go closer to the west side of the Let's try this again. Let's try this. Warm waters move to the eastern Pacific. There we go. All right, I can read. We did prove one thing today. So the eastern equatorial Pacific is where these warm waters hang out, and then that usually leads to a warmer and dry setup for the winter for spots like southern Wisconsin. So we'll see if that setup holds true as we head into this winter. But right now, it is a little bit dry, but not really that warm, and the wind is not helping things. But I do think the rain stays away for the rest of today. So for the Brew Crew versus the Dodgers, temperatures staying in the 50s, and we'll see decreasing clouds throughout the day. And we do have the clouds right now in downtown Madison on the Edgewater Skycam. Those winds, though, boy, oh boy, they have been bothersome today. Out of the south and west at 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting closer to 30 in the Dells and in Madison. And over the next 24 hours, I think those trash cans are going to be knocked over, and especially tomorrow, because some of those wind gusts could actually get close to 40 miles per hour. Some of them may end up in your neighbor's yard, so hopefully you're on good speaking terms with them. Tonight, for any Friday night football festivities, temperatures staying in the 50s, breezy and mild, but we're going to see those clearing skies. And we want clear skies over the next couple of days because we have the Orionid meteor shower that peaks Saturday and Sunday overnight. At times, we could see up to 20 meteors per hour. Good visibility Saturday night and Sunday night, but really we want to go right before dawn on Sunday morning and Monday morning. That would be the best time to avoid the moonlight and see those meteors because they're pretty quick. They're a lot quicker than the Perseids. Tonight, becoming clear and colder, cloudy with rain late and temperatures in the upper 30s. For tomorrow, shower, maybe even a flurry or two for the morning hours and temperatures in the 40s. So we'll see the clouds get out of here then as we head into tomorrow. Big football game for the Badgers coming up. A couple of rain showers early, maybe even a few flurries for the start of that game. But by the time we get into the 5th quarter, I do think temperatures will be chilly, but skies will be clear, and they remain clear and sunny on Sunday for the game versus Illinois at Camp Randall. Temperature staying in the 40s, windy and colder with a few raindrops and flurries, not out of the question. Here's a quick look at your 7-day forecast. Lots of sunshine coming up next weekend, and next week, I should say. And so that's good news. Temperature staying in the 50s, but then a little bit more unsettled by the time we start next weekend with a chance of rain and maybe even some snowflakes mixing back in by next Saturday and Sunday.
So you'll want to bundle up for the Badger game.
Yes, it's going to be a chilly and a windy one as well.
All right, keep us up to date on the trash can forecast.
Okay, sounds good.
I like that product.
Yes, it's a good one.
All right, thank you. Well, 40 years after John Carpenter's original horror yarn scared movie audiences, Michael Myers creeps back into theaters.
It is a new
spin.
A new spin on the idea of a sequel. Rick Damigella has a preview of Halloween.
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape?
What the hell did you do that for?
So I can kill him.
Jamie Lee Curtis reprises her role as Laurie Strode, the sole survivor of the murderous Michael Myers in Halloween.
He's waited for this night. He's waited for me. I waited for him.
She has spent her life trying to prepare and protect her family. Nothing else could get in her way. And in that singular purpose, that perseverating on that point, she lost everything.
The boogeyman, all this hiding, all this preparation, it was for nothing. I mean, it took priority over your family. It cost you your family.
The movie is a direct sequel to John Carpenter's original Halloween, ignoring but paying homage to the numerous sequels since 1978.
Wasn't it her brother who murdered all those babysitters?
No, it was not her brother. That's something that people made up.
He's human, not human. He's not a robot. He's a human being. You can't kill him. He's relentless. He walks very slowly. He kills very quickly.
Think about him like you think about the wind in a hurricane. You can't see it. It's going to kill you. Here it comes. It's in the dark. It's going to get you.
Can you close the closet door?
Sleeping with the lights on in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
I think I'll pass on that.
I'm not a horror flick person, but I might have to see this one. I'm a big Jamie Lee Curtis fan.
We'll find out what Will Loper thinks about it on Monday. And we come back today. It is debate night in Wisconsin.
There are 3 debates actually happening tonight, including the statewide debate between the candidates for governor. We'll talk about what makes a successful debate and what's at stake with an expert from UW-Madison. That's when Live at 4 continues.
A look at downtown Madison on this Friday afternoon and the state capitol and the men who want to spend the next 4 years in that building. It is the biggest debate night of the year in Wisconsin politics.
That's right. The candidates for U.S. Senate, Tammy Baldwin and Leah Vukmir, debate tonight at 7 o'clock at Marquette Law School.
And then a debate for the 1st Congressional District begins at 7:30. That airs on Wisconsin Eye.
And then at 8 o'clock, the candidates for governor debate in Madison. The statewide broadcast is hosted by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, and our Jessica Arp will be part of the panel asking questions. So what is at stake tonight? Sarah Jed teaches public speaking in the Department of Communication Arts at UW-Madison, and she has a PhD in political rhetoric from the UW. Sarah, good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for being with us.
So debates can be real game changers, can't they?
Yes, absolutely. But I think there's kind of a disconnect between the way the candidates prepare and then the way we as an audience consume the debate. Because the candidates spend all this time practicing these really specific policy answers to the kinds of questions they're going to get. But lots of time as viewers, we're not paying as much attention to what they're saying as we are to how they're saying it.
That's interesting.
And how they say it is important.
Yes, and I'm not saying that style is more important than substance, but I think style is really substantive. I mean, these candidates are kind of proving who they are to voters. And for Governor Walker, he's campaigned successfully in our state 3 times. He's been on a national stage. He's debated everyone from Donald Trump to Tom Barrett. So the audience has a lot of expectations for him. But that sort of constrains what he can do, right? Because if he says something that goes against what we already think about him, we're going to be really surprised and we're going to be really confused. But Superintendent Evers is kind of a newcomer to the governor's stage, and so he has a little bit more freedom about what he can do and what he can say as he sort of introduces himself to viewers tonight.
The structure of the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association's debates, though, is very formal.
Right.
There's not a lot of room or time for extemporaneous speaking. So how do you think that'll change the dynamic tonight?
Well, I think that as you have been reporting, we're going to see a lot of talk about education. We're going to see a lot of talk about health care. So I think viewers can be expecting answers to those questions. And I think we're going to really learn about the candidates' policies tonight. So I think for viewers, you should watch with an ear toward the policies that you think are really important. And you should really pay attention to what the candidates are saying, but you should know that they've really thought about how they're saying it in order to seem as credible as possible to the voters.
Unless there's a major gaffe, do these change anyone's minds about the candidates?
I think they do. I think they do. For a voter who maybe isn't sure who they want to vote for yet, I think they're going to watch the debates, they're going to see the candidates emerge over the course of the debates, and I think they really could make a decision based on how the candidates talk and what they say.
And I think, like past presidential debates, we remember the zingers, we remember the binders full of women, and Trump, wandering all over the stage. This format doesn't really lend itself to that.
Right, which I think is probably a relief for the candidates tonight. So there's a lot at stake, but it is a very formal, structured discussion. I think we're going to see a lot of clash. I think we're going to see them directly refuting each other's statements. But because it's the first in kind of a series, I think they're going to be really nice to each other. They're going to be friendly. I don't think it's going to be a very aggressive debate.
And it's a widely held belief that Richard Nixon lost the presidential election because of that debate with John Kennedy.
So the stakes are very high. Debates can really make a big difference, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I'll be watching in between the brewers, during the commercials, and maybe we'll record it.
Good idea.
It'll be a great lesson for your class.
Absolutely, yes.
Sarah, great to see you. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Thanks for being with us. And speaking of which, it is a huge game for the Milwaukee Brewers tonight.
When we come back, we will take you live to Miller Park. They need a win to stay alive in the National League Championships. We'll head to Milwaukee next with a preview of Game 6 when we come back.
Good afternoon. Here's your Friday First Alert traffic update, taking a live look right now at Park Street and the Beltline. A little bit of slow go eastbound, but westbound not looking too bad. No major accidents or incidents to report. Zooming in on the Beltline, we could still see some delays piling up in both directions. Average speed at around 10 to 20 miles per hour closer to Fish Hatchery Road, Park Street and John Nolan Drive. Already up to 21 minutes though. Verona Road to John Nolan eastbound, average speed only around 13 miles per hour. And in the other direction, looking much better. Westbound in that same stretch, 5 minutes with an average speed of around 50 miles per hour. And that is your First Alert traffic update.
All right, Dave, thank you so much. It is Game 6 tonight in the National League Championship.
The Brewers are down 3 games to 2 to the LA Dodgers. Whoever wins 4 games heads to the World Series to face Boston. We welcome an old friend back here. Alana Russo used to be a member of the sports team here a few years ago. Now she's a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers television broadcast team. Alana, welcome back.
Hi, welcome back to Wisconsin.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. It's great to be back. It's great to hear your voices in my ear again. It's awesome.
So is this kind of strange to be back? I mean, you're a Dodgers girl now, but you used to cover the Brewers.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange. You know what's more strange is hearing all of the different old streets that I used to drive on to get to WISC. You guys were just talking about Fish Hatchery Road and all that stuff. I'm like, I used to live right by there, so it's always good to be back in Madison. You know, it's really fun to be able to talk to you guys again. I miss it. I was just telling Brian Mesmer, our great camera guy here, that I miss living in Madison. I have lifelong friends there. I'm still good friends with a lot of folks that I worked with at ISC, so happy to be back on the air there today.
Well, we miss you as well, and we're so proud of you because you are really in the big time now. You're working for the LA Dodgers, and bring everybody up to date. Tell everyone what you're doing now in your current job.
Well, it's crazy because I've actually been covering the Dodgers for 5 seasons now, and they've gone to the postseason 6 straight years. So I can't even take credit for it because they went to the playoffs even before I started. They've been going back to back to back to back to back since 2013. So I've been with them for 5 seasons. After I left Madison, I went back home. If you guys remember, I'm from Colorado. So I went from WISC back to Denver, and I covered the Colorado Rockies for 5 seasons among some other teams in the Colorado area. And then I went to MLB Network in New York and New Jersey for 2 seasons. And then the Dodgers Network came calling. So I've been in Los Angeles and now live in the South Bay for 5 years. Time just absolutely flies by. I left Madison in 2007. So the fact it's been 11 years is pretty crazy.
Yeah, time really does fly. All right, let's talk inside baseball. Big game tonight. The Brewers need to win. If the Dodgers win, they're going to the World Series. What are your thoughts?
You know, it's going to be an interesting Game 6 tonight. Obviously, the Brewers have their backs against the wall, but they have the right 2 guys going as far as their starters are concerned for Game 6 and Game 7. You have Wade Miley going tonight. The left-hander has had really good success against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and of course, we thought he was going to be the starter for Game 5, and then Craig Counsell pulled him after 1 batter to kind of mess up the Dodgers lineup a little bit. I think the Dodgers were onto it a little bit because they did start a couple of left-handers anyway in anticipation of a right-handed reliever coming through. But I think the narrative coming into this series, you guys, is that the Brewers bullpen was certainly the strength of the team, and they have certainly delivered. But I don't think people thought that the Dodgers bullpen is as good as the Dodgers bullpen has been in this series. And I think the starters have been tremendous on both sides. I think we're getting a little bit more out of the Brewers starters than we had anticipated. But Hyunjin Ryu's had a really good year when he's been healthy. He finished the season 7-3 with a 1.97 earned run average in 15 starts. And when he's healthy, he's pretty much on all season long. And then if there is a Game 7 tomorrow, the Brewers have Jhoulys Chacín going. And I covered Chacín when I was with the Colorado Rockies, and he was barely a number 5. And arguably this season, he's the Brewers' ace. So all 5 of these games have been very contested games. None of them have been a blowout. The Dodgers all season long have relied on the long ball. You saw in Game 5 they were actually able to put some runs together to manufacture some runs, and it'll be an interesting series. I have to say, I think the Dodgers end up winning this series. I know Madison doesn't want to hear that. Wisconsin doesn't want to hear it, but the Dodgers only have to win 1 game. The Brewers have to win 2.
They have the experience. Well, it's great to see you.
Alana, it is so great to see you, buddy. Thank you for doing this.
You too, guys.
You should do this for a living. You're very
You're
good at
welcome.
it.
Anytime.
Alana, thank you. We'll be right back with a final check of your forecast. right, windy out there.
Windy, kind of chilly, a little bit raw still. The clouds are still around in Platteville, although maybe a little bit of sunshine showing up in our Queen Bee Radio Skycam. Still that wind gusting about 25 to 30 miles per hour, not really calming down all that much. For tonight, becoming clear and colder, then the clouds move back in. Some rain is possible late with temperatures in the upper 30s.
And maybe some rain for the game tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Dave. We'll be right back with Lola's Lowdown.
Well, fall is in the air, Halloween isn't far off, and Lola and Louie are in an autumnal mood.
They have those stories and more in this week's edition of Lola's Lowdown. This week on the Lowdown, a very rude bear.
Some spooky pups.
And who doesn't love rolling around in the leaves?
But first, in order to walk, you first have to crawl. This giant panda cub, born in July in China, is growing up healthy and starting to learn how to crawl. The cub spends about 23 hours a day sleeping, but in that hour he's awake, watch out, he's on the move. His limbs are now strong enough to support him moving about a little bit. In the coming months, the cub will be crawling more and walking in no time.
Who doesn't love fall? And these lions at the London Zoo are no exception, rolling around in the autumn leaves. Turns out the colorful pile had been scented with cinnamon and cloves to entice the four big cats. Female lions Heidi, Indy, and Ruby played in the leaves before male Bahanu had his chance to roll around. No lion, it feels good.
Halloween is right around the corner, and these pups got a leg up on the holiday. The annual Fright Fest Pet Parade has dogs and cats dressed up in their best costumes. Pets competed for funniest, most original, and best pet owner combo. While this is all about fun, they also raise money for a nonprofit dedicated to reducing pet overpopulation. That makes a very happy Halloween.
Finally, a curious bear was spotted during a snowstorm in Boulder, Colorado, managing to open a van's doors to get a peek inside. He goes in and out of the passenger door, checking things out, apparently. A few moments later, the bear walks around to the other side of the van, opening both doors, checking it out, and then just walking off.